Hey, BronyCon! Hi, every pony! And everyone watching at home. My name's Mitch Larson. I'm just joking. I'm Nicole Oliver, and I'm so thrilled to be here. And apparently, we're going to teach y'all how to do a little voice acting today, but I'm not going to do it by myself. I'm going to introduce the rest of the people who are going to take us through this fantastic journey of vocal imaginings and stylings. Everyone, stand up, put your hands together for Rebecca Choiket! Yeah! And let's keep the applause going for Michelle Kreber. And then we have Alex, one of our lovely community guests, and we're going to be putting him through the ringer. Sit on down. And then the lovely, the talented Shelby.
She's usually mascotting.
Sure,
come on over here.
So, this is finding the voice within. It's not about finding your inner voice or your inner child, but releasing it all and becoming crazy. Who would love to be a voice actor? There you go. Well, you know what? I got a little bit of news for you. Voice is just the adjective, right? The noun is, and we are all already actors in real life. So if that scares you, vomit, get it out of your system. But you are all actors, and we're actually going to have you participate with us today. So what we have here is we have a little script. Dinner at Capone's. And there's 3 characters in it. Rarity, Applejack, and Pinkie Pie. So eventually they are going to perform this script. But here's what's the little trick we're doing? The little flip, the little thing? They can't sound like what?
We don't want to do sound-alikes. We're not here to imitate or to copy. We're here to find the inner voice of the character from where it comes from yourself.
We're here to create.
We are going to create something
original
new.
works of art.
That's
Terrified?
Right. I think.
Yes.
Great.
It is on. I think we have a new addition to our panel as
We do?
well.
Who-
This is Jessie Nowacking
Hi!
over here on the far right. And of
Jessie,
course,
how are you? So are you going to read one of our actors too? You can be one of our characters?
I was just told I was on this panel, and I went to the wrong panel.
isn't that the way to do
Guess what? You're an actor. Okay, that's
Okay, so
happening.
barf and get it out of your system, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, barf and get it out of your system. So when you get a script, you're like, hey, gee, Mom, I want to be an actor. And they're like, oh, great, okay. There's a couple of things you need to consider. Like, how do you get these words off the page and out how you all watch cartoons all the time, right? So it's not just about making funny voices. You really have to be these characters. You have to know who they are, what they want, which is called their intention or motivation, right? You need to know what's standing in the way of getting what they want. Beside discord, it's called what? An obstacle. You need to know what you're going to do to get what you want, and that as an actor is called your tactics, right? The actual verbs: I'm going to tease, I'm going to cajole, I'm going to compliment, I'm going to caress, I'm going to canoodle, I'm going to jar. Sorry, don't sue me. You know, and I'm going to muss. Right? Whatever you.
Nice product.
It was a good product. It smells good too. So tactics. So who you are, what do you want? What are you going to do to get what you want? What's standing in the way of getting what you want? And then also, who are you in the scene with? And what is the relationship you have to those characters? It's a lot of thinking stuff, right? You got to be kind of smart to be an actor. So on top of all this brain work you do called script analysis, then you got to let it trickle down into your body and figure out how you're going to do something other than who you are. But you kind of got to know who you are first in order to know how to go away from that. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's kind of in 5 minutes.
Checking your bracelet watch there.
Yeah, my bracelet watch.
It's a sparkle past a
It's
sparkle.
the latest thing in Equestria. When the diamonds cross the sapphire, I don't have a sapphire, but let's pretend. It's noon, and it's time for wine. But anyway. So, script analysis, character development. And then you have the actual script, which are the words, and they help you know where the story's going and what you need to do. So that's kind of the basics. But before you can even start to do something off the page, voice, this part's like 10% of your body, right? So what are you going to do with the rest of it? What are you going to do with the other 90%, as they say? Wiggle around? Great, stand up on your feet. Rebecca's going to take us through a warm-up.
I'm going to lead you guys through a warm-up, a vocal warm-up.
I'm ready.
Everybody's invited. So this is going to be interesting with a microphone. Now sometimes you might think this is excessive, but it is true that our whole torso, in fact, all the way from our feet all the way up to the top of our head, is involved in creating the sound that we make when we're voice acting. So what I want everybody to do, if you have room, if not, just kind of go halfway. We're going to do a spine roll down. This is just a great way to start any day, not just a vocal warm-up, but I'm just going to put this down. This is hard to do physical things and talk at the same time. Nicole's all about the comedy today. So we're going to start by rolling from the top of the head, Okay. So let the weight of your head draw you down towards the ground, and I'll demonstrate. Here we go.
I'll follow you with the mic. Come on, everyone.
Are they doing it? So the idea is to let gravity draw your spine and expand it. Are you doing it? Are you doing it?
I'm kind of sort of doing it. I'm trying to make sure they can hear you.
And now we're going to slowly roll up and restack your vertebrae one at a time. I probably should have explained that before I did it. How's everybody's hair? How's everybody's badges? In place? Good. We're going to do it again. Okay, here we go. Slowly roll down and exhale as you go.
And while you're kind of halfway or at the bottom, if you're folded in half, that's cool. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and expand your ribs. And feel the space that you get from stretching your lungs inside your body, and feel that those muscles between your ribs expand. And then slowly exhale and roll back up.
Oh, so good. Right, Nicole? She's sitting down.
Yeah, it feels really good. But that's not it. That's just the first step. What's next?
So what's next? We're going to do a little side roll. We're going to reach one arm over, and we're just going to stretch out our side ribs because our diaphragm's connected all the way around our body. So let's do this.
And why do you need your diaphragm?
The diaphragm controls the breathing. It's a membrane that stretches.
And breath really is the foundation for everything, right?
Yeah.
If you don't breathe, you die. But if you don't breathe, you can't do
Other
things
side.
like, ah! Doesn't that feel good?
When you go into a session, you don't know if you're going to be screaming, right, guys?
Yeah.
You might have a script, but they might all of a sudden throw another character at you and say, hey, can you be the dying swan? And you'll be like, well, I warmed up today, so yes, I can.
Yeah,
or
I've
you
stretched,
can say,
yes.
Or you can say, I didn't warm up today, so I'm going to thrash my vocal cords, which is not a good option for longevity of the voice. Okay, so we've stretched out our ribs. Now we're going to take a deep breath with both arms up. Reach up. And as you breathe in, feel your abdomen expand and exhale. This is just good for
It's good.
Just
Here's
good
a
for
little mic
start of the
tip.
con.
Never breathe into the mic like, they hate it.
Yes, they hate it.
It's not good. So seriously don't do that. if you're in front of the microphone, always point that down to the stand, and no engineers will come and kill you. Just a little safety tip.
Or
Yeah.
you can angle off to the side, too. Here, one more breath in. And exhaling.
Hey, one more time, and when you go up to the top, and then you're going to release with a
Yeah, big sigh.
yeah, big breath in. I just want to hear everyone do it. And go.
So musical. Yeah.
Welcome to the yoga retreat in Baltimore.
Okay, now let's vocalize a little bit more. Let's take, can anybody do this?
Yeah, so in addition to warming up your body, you have your lips, your teeth, and you have the tip of the tongue. This is the stuff that goes together to make all those sounds. So if it's dead, your performance will be dead.
So we're gonna do a little roller coaster ride and just a gentle.
And it should
How are our
start, if
actors
it
doing?
start, anybody's nose itching or tweaking a little bit?
Tickling
That's
a bit?
good. That means your face is waking up.
And now let's do some meow, meow, meow. It's really over the top, but it's what you need to do to get everything woken up. Meow, meow, meow. Now
I'm
stick your
really
tongue
happy
out.
you're not
Stick your
making
tongue
chicken
out.
sounds.
And now squish up like a mouse.
Oh, squeeze it up. Make your face as tight as you
Now
can.
small, small.
Make your
And now
mouth
big like a lion.
big as you can. Stick your tongue out, everyone. Stick it out. Make a sound.
And now in.
Make your face really small like Rebecca. Really small.
Good. And now just soften. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. Is everybody feeling a little bit looser? A little bit more connected?
Pardon me?
Are we feeling a little bit more connected?
Yeah,
to our
so does
bodies?
everyone feel you should, when you speak, it's not just from your throat, right? You have all the resonators. There's a word. Say it after me. Yeah. So where all the sound can vibrate. Everyone, do you feel larger than life? Are you feeling ready to go? You feel like your instrument is warmed up?
Rib cage nice and stretched out.
Okay, so your instrument's warmed up, you're ready to go, but who are you going to be and how are you going to get there? Michelle.
First of all, let's give it up for DJ Nicole Oliver and Rebecca Schweiker.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more awake than I was 10 minutes ago.
I haven't had coffee yet.
Exactly. Okay, so how many of you guys know what a character description is? Okay, solid. So when we get auditions, we get a breakdown, usually of the storyline of the show that we're auditioning for. Then we get a character description, character name, character age, gender, and then we have our sides. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever done film and TV before, but voiceover sides work a little bit different than other types of auditions for various acting things. They are very often just your character's lines. So sometimes you don't even have the whole scene to go on.
It can be hard.
It can be
to
hard.
know who your teammates are, who your relationships are with other people in the scene.
Yeah, so a lot of the times you really just have to make your own solid decisions. And that's really what the casting directors want to see. They want to see that you've made a choice and that you're committed to it even with little information.
Bold choices, yeah.
Yeah. So with a character description, sometimes there'll be like a good paragraph, but what I like to say is there's about 3 important words in there, and that's all you really need to know. They'll say like, you know, this character is your brother, and this is where you grew up, and that's all dandy information. But then they will say shy, raspy, and youthful, or something like that. And those are the key words that will really shape where you want to take it. And you have to interpret that in your own way, right? As I said, making solid choices.
Yeah, because youthful isn't the same for everyone. Like, you know, I think I'm youthful, and then I look at you, and you're youthful.
But Nicole's youthful will be different from my youthful, and Rebecca's shy will be different from my shy. And so it's about embracing your individuality in the character and, yeah, making choices. So that's the main point. Now, do we want to get into a bit of the technicality of voice acting? Where do we want to go next? Or do we want to go to the
Well,
script
I think
first?
let's look at the script. So we have Rarity, Applejack, and Pinkie Pie, and they're pretty established characters. So Rarity, audience, what are some words you use to describe Rarity?
Keywords. fabulous. Totally.
Yeah.
I can see Tabitha reading that in the description, and that just instantly, that one word, bringing her to that place. And when she does the role, her hand is up, and she's embracing just even that one word, right? So what's another one? Fabulous.
Creative. Somebody said creative.
Yeah.
Creative. That's a good one.
Yeah, I like
she is. She's very creative.
And then, which one of you would like to do Rarity in the script? Have you prepared anything?
We haven't. We got the scripts as we got on stage.
I love it.
This happens to actors too.
So, if you were all, let's say, auditioning for this project, you would prepare for all the characters. You would get great character descriptions like Michelle has talked about. You'd reflect in your life. When did I feel sad? How did that make me feel? You have to be able to lift the words off the page. Does that make sense? It can never feel read, right? It has to feel new and original every time you do it, even if it's take 100. So how about you do Rarity?
Lit.
Dinner at
How about, which one would you like to do out of Pinkie Pie and Applejack? Pinkie Pie? And would you like to be our Applejack?
Sure.
Okay, so when you get these scripts, there are words on the page, but in real life, there are so many things we do naturally without thinking about that create a sound atmosphere that helps to really make these words pop and feel real. So for example, everybody stand up. Okay, here's a description. You've had a really long, hard day. You sit down. What sound do you make as you do it? 1, 2, 3, go. Right? Okay, so you're reaching for something. What sound do you make as you reach for that last Coca-Cola? Right? If you're happy and you know it, what do you do besides clapping your hands? So, but interesting, inside the voice booth, if it says you're going to cheer, okay, let's say we have Walla where it says cheering. Okay, at the count of 3, I want you guys to all cheer. 1, 2, 3. But here's the thing, we can't clap. Does you know why we can't clap in the booth? Does anybody up here know why?
It is loud and percussive in there.
Yeah, and you're making sounds and it's going to ruin your take. So I want everybody to cheer without clapping. So just using vocalizations on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Right? So there's so many things we do. As you walk through your day today, just notice how many times you add little sighs. So let's say you saw something really cool, like, oh, I don't know, Rebecca Schoikett walking out of the bathroom stall next to you. What sound would you make?
Huh? What the?
Or let's say you saw Mitch Larson streaking down the hall. I know what sound I'd make. So there's these are all called what we call in the biz Walla, or pre-life or post-life. Pre-life because they might come before a line. Post-life because they come. I know it's hard.
Now, can I just say something? I saw a couple of you guys put your hands out when you did that. Didn't that feel natural? That's what you wanted to do, right? So as voice actors, we can't move our feet. We cannot be stomping our feet. The whole microphone's gonna pick that up from the stand upwards, right? So you should see us in a semicircle. We look like a bunch of monkeys because all we have is our hands. And so when you're cheering, you want to reach out and use that as long as you keep your face central to the microphone and you're not wearing bracelets like I'm wearing right now. Use your hands, and that will centralize everything into your face and bring it out to express into the microphone. So use that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be afraid to use your body and use your face.
Just keep your feet planted.
So I'm wondering, why don't we start working our way through? Do you guys want to go and work with them and make sure they're using their body and their face and give them tips as we work through? Would that work for you?
Sure. We'll go
So this is
one-on-one.
dinner at Capone's. Now, when you get a script, well, here's my little shameless self-plug. The last couple of years, I've been voice directing in addition to voice acting. So I thought maybe what I do is take you guys through the script, and you'll have Rebecca and Michelle to help give you some acting points and tips when we're trying to make things blossom and grow. How does that sound for everybody up here?
Perfect.
Okay, does that sound good for you guys out there? Okay. So when you get a script, the lines are usually numbered. That's how we keep track of where we start and where we begin. This script, it isn't, so bear with us.
Hair director. Yes. What are the 3 descriptive words we should give to each of these characters? Because we need to start somewhere, right? Yeah. We don't have character breakdowns on this script.
Okay, so let's start with our rarity. So rarity is going to be friendly, a bit of a know-it-all, and creative. So whoever our rarity is, how about you? You are, right? Why don't you take a line and let's just play with that. Thinking creative, a bit of a know-it-all, but friendly.
Darlings, I'm so glad we were able to come to Capone's together. You'll love it here, though I'm sad the others couldn't join us.
I love that. Could you try making her a little bit younger sounding and pick up the pace a bit?
Darlings, I'm so glad we were able to come to Capone's together. You'll love it here, though I'm sad the others couldn't come.
And could you maybe just put it up a little higher?
Darlings, I'm so glad we were able to come to Capone's together. You'll love it here, though I'm sad the others couldn't join us.
Great, and how would she laugh? I love it. Fantastic. So, yeah, a round of applause. So then that would become our voice ref. Okay, so let's now our next actor. So you are our Pinkie Pie, right? So what 3 words do you think, Michelle, for Pinkie Pie?
I was thinking energetic is a big one. I don't know. One of the things
Bouncy.
Bouncy, yeah. Bouncy and well, you guys know her best. What's the third one? It's hard to hear you guys. I would like to say, this is a bit of a off-ball word, but for some reason the word dynamic comes to mind, because when you have a character that has this much energy, the only way to make it really interesting, like Andrea does, is to give her the little moment, those moments where she just kind of goes, da-da-da-da, and then she'll shoot right back up.
Yeah, so she's quite dynamic from going highs to low, but so that we don't all do this
all the time when we have a headache.
Yeah. How about our Pinkie Pies a little more lower in their register? A little more Barry White, I dare to say.
I like that.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think
Well, how about you do a line as you prepared in the last 10 seconds? Go.
apparently Twilight. Apparently Twilight found a new book on magic, so we're probably gonna see her in a week.
Okay, what line were you doing there, love? I'm trying to...
The 4th line?
Yes, okay. All right, now, I want you to go a little bit lower and make her a little bit dumber. Make him a little bit dumber.
Apparently Twilight have found a book on magic theory, so we're probably gonna see her in a week.
Great, and then every once in a while, I want you to go like, get really excited. Just add that on top.
Apparently Twilight has found a new book on magic theory, so we're probably gonna see her in a week.
Okay, and now after theory that makes you so excited, I want you to have a giggle fit. One more time.
That's my hardest, weakest point. Apparently Twilight has found a new book on magic theory. So we'll probably see her in a week.
Awesome. That's great. Hand of applause. Thank you. And now listen, if you make a mistake, if you have a little foible or a little bobble, believe it or not, we're not perfect, although we pretend we are. I know, shocking but true. So if you make a mistake, all you need to do is go back to the beginning of the line in which the error occurred and do it again. No big deal. That's why your engineer is your best friend. All right, our third character is Applejack. What words for Applejack? Honest, dependable,
I think I like the word
friendly.
Yeah. I like the word honest. I feel like in terms of translating that into what it could be for a vocal quality, maybe the word sincere. Because
I love
that genuine, sincere, that's what honesty comes across as, right? Okay, so we got, what do we get? Honest, friendly,
Yeah.
or do I mean genuine, friendly?
Yeah. All right, so let's do a little Applejack line there.
Well, Fluttershy told me that Angel Bunny wasn't feeling good, though I suspect the bugger's faking it.
Oh my god. So like Applejack is a surfer dude. Pinkie Pie is very white on speed. And Rarity is fantastically Rarity, but really original.
So, we all know what they sound like, but we found their voices now. So we're going to start at the script. Can anyone tell me what is happening in the beginning of the scene? What's going on? Actor people on stage.
According to our description, scene, Rarity, Pinkie Pie, and Applejack are enjoying an evening at a fancy restaurant in Canterlot. They are looking at the menu, and non-unicorns have questions.
So you're sitting in the restaurant and you're looking at the menu, right? So what sort of sounds do you make when you look at the menu when you're trying to figure out what to eat? Right? So that would be an instance where maybe you could pepper some of that in. Hey, why don't we go from Rarity's line, darlings.
Until? Or just until we stop?
Let's go down to the bottom of the page. First page. So when you are actually recording these things, in real life we have a tendency to interrupt, right? To jump on top of each other because we really want to share what we have to say. But you can't do that in the studio, even if it's written that way. You need to allow a little moment for the engineer to push the faders up and down. So if you have an overlap or a voice jump, then we can't use that take. But you can't let the energy drop. So I want you to make sure you guys aren't jumping on top of each other, okay? Let's go from Rarity's line down to Applejack. This is dinner at Capone's, line 1 down to line 12. This is take 1.
Darlings, I'm so glad we were able to come to Capone's together. You'll love it here, though I'm sad the others couldn't join us.
Well, Fluttershy told me that Angel Bunny wasn't feeling good, though I suspect the bugger's faking it.
Apparently, Twilight found a book on magic theory, so we'll probably see her in a week.
And Dash just flat out said no when I told her about what we were eating.
Well, if Rainbow Dash wants to be uncultured, that's on her.
Rarity. A lot of these words in the menu are fancy and confusing.
Ooh.
I've never heard them.
What? Confusing? Aren't you a baker?
Yeah. Yeah, but just bake sweets and treats. The chef stuff. Besides, I haven't eaten a normal dinner meal in like 9 years or so.
I have questions. I just don't want to ask them right now.
There's this big word at the top of this page here. Entree. Does that mean we're getting sticks and leaves with the food?
No. That's entree. It's a term for the main course of the meal.
Whew, that's a relief. I eat too many leaves bucking all those apple trees.
And scene. Good job. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys some notes.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah, round of applause. We're going to get a pen. How did that feel, you three?
It felt like a cold read.
Well, as actors, we usually get our scripts the night before, and it's our job to do our preparation and come ready to play. But it's also our job to come into the booth willing to throw away everything we thought was going to be what it was going to be. And so it does feel like a cold read a lot of the time, the first time. So you got to fake it till you break it. So I want everyone to pick up their energy just a little bit. I'm going to give you some specific notes.
Say that 10 times fast.
Okay. So, Rarity, give me a little looking at the menu off your first line before darlings, please. Angel Bunny wasn't feeling good, though I suspect the little bugger is faking it. Applejack, you can be a little more pissed off there. Pinkie Pie, give me that giggle after theory we talked about. So write it on your script. You'll never remember the notes you're given, so you write them down.
Also, a little tip, I like to write down those 3 keywords right at the top of the page too, because sometimes when you get in there, if there's adrenaline or you're tired or you're doing multiple characters, that's very common. Those keywords are supposed to just ground you back to where you started. So I like to do that. But
Hey, and Applejack, you know, you say, and Dash just flat out said, no way. Sometimes when we talk about other people in our life, don't you find you imitate them a little bit, right? So maybe when you say no way, you can do it like Dash would, okay?
Okay.
On that line, thank you.
And in that case, I think we can do an imitation.
I think we could do an imitation.
That would be fun.
That would be a good one. So then it says, after that's on her, what does it say with a star around it? After, on your line, Rarity? Flips her?
Flips her mane upward with her hoof.
What sound would you make when you do that? Great, so let's hear that after that line.
Okay.
And then Pinkie Pie, before your Rarity, if things are confusing, what sound do we make, everyone? So maybe it's, guys, what sounds would we make to let people know things were confusing? What are some acting tips you could do? And sometimes we drag out the words a little bit because we're trying to put it together in our brain. So maybe Pinkie Pie, Rarity, that line, you're like, this is hurting my brain. Let's hear that a little bit more. So you're trying to really figure out these words. Befuddled, I need a pre-life before your what? Almost like spitting up water, like, but not into the mic. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
And then little chuckle after besides, Pinkie Pie in your next line. I haven't eaten a normal dinner meal in like 9 years or so. And then Rarity, let's get that little pre-life before your line. I loved your on-tree Applejack. I think you got to milk that moment more. As an actor, really, it's all about you all the time. And you should be told to, let's just let other people play too. So let's milk that moment. Let's have more fun with that, okay?
Okay.
And even you can have more fun with entree than you did. I love what you did, but go further.
Okay.
Okay. I think you guys need to get on your feet.
yeah.
Yeah, so let's get on your feet.
I wonder if we could hold the mics. I'll hold them. Oh, yeah. You can hold the mics. One of us can each hold. I'll hold yours.
Oh my gosh, what a nice mic stand.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to be your mic stands because normally you don't have to be in control of holding your microphone.
Okay, so with all that in mind, don't be afraid to use your body. Pretend nobody's watching. All right, and so let's go from the same place. This is take what? Take it two.
Oh, darlings, I'm so glad you were able to come to Capone's together. You'll love it here, though I'm sad the others couldn't join us.
Well, Fluttershy told me that Angel Bunny wasn't feeling good, though I suspect the little bugger's faking it.
Apparently, Twilight found a new book on magic theory, so we'll probably see her in a week.
And Dash just flat out said, "No way," when I told her about what we were eating.
Oh, well, if Rainbow Dash wants to be uncultured, that's on her.
Rarity. A lot of these words in the menu are fancy and confusing. I've never heard of them.
Confusing? Aren't you a baker?
Yeah, but I just bake sweets and treats. This chef stuff, besides, I never eating a normal dinner like in 9 years.
I have more questions, but I don't know if I want to ask them right now.
There's this big word at the top of this page here. On tree.
Great, one more time. And give me a little, before that.
Gotcha. There's this big word at the top of this page here. There's this big word at the top of this page here. On tree? Does that mean we're getting sticks and leaves with the food?
What? No, it's entree. It's a term for the main course of the meal.
Great, and now after your pissy entree, do that second one with
A big smile because you're teaching him something. Okay. What? No. It's entree. It's a term for the main course of the meal.
Oh, whew, that's a relief. I eat too many leaves bucking all those apple trees.
nice.
Isn't that great? Something that I love about what just happened was, weren't you guys able to understand the script better this time? Because it is just words, and now it's got feelings attached to it, and motivation and relationship, right? They're starting to have a relationship with each other. Yeah. And it's not all just sound. It's about interconnectedness, and the words are making sense, right?
So do you guys have any questions as actors? I'm sure you guys do, but having gone through this, we're going to do another page, if that's okay with you guys. Do you want to hear some more? But how about any questions from y'all up here about what's been going on, or how you're feeling, or any insights or anything?
I am A-okay.
You're A-okay? You are A-okay.
I think I'm good. I'm still exploring the character. I usually use my higher tone, like higher end of the voice, not lower. So it's interesting.
And sometimes as voice actors, we tend to stick to what we know because it feels safe for us. But eventually, you know what? Like I always say, go towards that what scares the bejesus out of you. You know, because you can only do that for so long. And if you want to have any sort of length of career, you need to have options.
Diversity.
And diversity in what you can do. So if you're really comfortable doing that high stuff all the time, force yourself to find other tones, right? Your voice is like a piano. There's all these different keys, right? You want to find a different voice, find out what note you start talking on, and maybe you're going to talk here, and then maybe if you go up a little higher, this note, I'm going to talk up here. Okay, so maybe I'm going to be talking on an A now.
And then there's other qualities to add too, like you could put a rasp on that. Or
I could put a rasp on it.
Or a lisp.
I could put a lisp on it as well, yeah.
So you can change all these combinations and find tons of different voices.
I could put an English accent on it in order to sound like the drunk queen. You sound fabulous, darling.
Why don't we try different voices for the second page?
Yeah, so I'm sure you all know, go where you're comfortable and do what you want to do now. Thank you for going and doing something different. But now I want you to do what you want to do. If you want to stick with what you're doing, that's cool. If you want to go up to where your comfort is so you can really fly and soar, that's fine too. Let's take the second page. We're going to be going from rarity. What are julienne, carrots, and celery?
Should we hold the mics again?
Should we hold their mics again? Yeah, we will. It's like too much of a bicep workout, but I'll hold your mic. I will.
I don't mind holding my own mic.
No, you need your hands to... I really want you guys to try and use your body a little bit more.
Yeah.
We almost kill each other in the booth all the time with punching.
It's true. It's true. You got to be careful
Killing
not to hit
monkeys.
the stand, because there's a music stand.
Or
in
hit
front of
each
you.
other.
Or hit each other.
Or hit Peter New.
What? One thing that I've learned from doing breath work and singing is that you use the energy from the ground, all the way from the ground up.
Yeah.
So when you take your breath in, your preparation breath before you actually start speaking, I'm speaking to our voice actors over on the panel here too, is that you breathe all the way down into the ground. So you press your breath down so that you prepare and you have lots of energy to say the line. So take a moment, especially if you're nervous. You can even have a breath before your line and drop the breath in, and then start with your line.
And even with a fast, energetic character, I feel like at least, especially if you're just starting out voice acting and you're starting to go to auditions, maybe prepare a little bit slower than you want the character to end up in an audition circumstance, especially because adrenaline takes everything up a notch. So if you practice at a medium to slow speed, chances are it's going to elevate and have more energy once you're in the room. And take your time, because it's just you in that booth most of the time. I've probably had less than 10 auditions in my entire life where the director will patch in and actually read the other lines with you. It's just yourself. And all of those, like if it was just Jessie doing her character, auditioning, you wouldn't hear any of the lines in between. So she can take 2-3 seconds in between if she needs, have time to remember what the next line is going to be and what it's going to sound like and how it's going to sound different from the last line. So yeah, take your time.
Moment before is super important, right? So if you guys are having a really great day and you walk in the door, chances are you'll walk in the door with a smile on your face. So how would your hello sound if you're having a great day? Hello. Okay, let's say you've been stuck in traffic and you just want to murder everybody on the planet. How would your hello sound?
Hello. Hello.
So where you have just come from is going to influence that next line. So you need to remember your emotional journey as you go through the script. Speaking of script, let's stand up and let's do the second page. So as actors now, they've already been told about pre-life and post-life and adding that sound in. So as a director, I would be expecting that they would start to bring that into their performance, right? Actors and directors, we work together. It's the director's job to shape the performance because they know what the producers want. And not every cartoon is the same, right? Some are really adult and really realistic, almost filmic. Others are real life people sped up, right? Some are for preschool people, kids, and some are for teenagers and have lots of funny, dirty jokes in it. I kind of don't mind those either. But you need to know what type of cartoon it is to know, as Michelle was saying, what kind of energy to bring to the table. Okay, let's continue with this second page. I'm coming down. Yay.
You're doing
This is
great
also a
in those
cardio
skills,
panel,
Nicole.
apparently.
You're doing great.
Cardio. Let's get physical. All right, this is page 2. This is going to be take
3.
Okay. Rarity, what are the Julian carrots and celery?
Oh, to julienne is to slice into long, thin strips. So they're like strips of carrots and celery that you can eat.
Sticks of carrots and celery? Neat! Now I can finally build a house out of them.
Wait, what?
When the cake leaves... When the cake leave me to babysit the twins, they'll leave the carrots and celery to eat. And they're always playing with it. And they have a great time with it. And now I get to do the same because cake always say, "Not Pinkie Pie. Make sure they eat their vegetables and don't play with them." But if twins have fun, why can't I? Can't wait for Julie to bring me carrots and celery.
Rarity, what is this? Hey, al dente? Who's this Al feller and why does he have to dent my hay? It's just thin and weak. All it'll do is bend.
Are you serious? Applejack, it's the cooking method used for hay. It just undercooks it a little bit to make it a little more firm.
Why wouldn't Al cook it all the way? Is he an impatient one? Is the pot dented? I bet that's why it's called that.
I hope Julie doesn't let Al dent my carrots and celery. It'll ruin structural integrity of the house I'm gonna build.
I don't think that it'll have anything to do with each other.
What if they run off together and start their own restaurant? It'll be nothing but long, thin, dented, undercooked carrot and celery. But they'll need to have a ranch dressing if they want.
Serenity now, serenity. Since you two seem to have some issues trying to pick out something on the menu, why don't you just tell me what you want and what you're in the mood for, and I'll find something for you.
Good job.
Wow.
Lots of stuff there, right?
Can I quickly
Oh,
say
you're going to
something?
do it again. Don't get all comfortable. We're going to do it again. Overall, so there's lots of words sometimes. And sometimes you get really scared by all those words on the page. But you know how many words you say every day and you do it like it's nobody's business. So you need to get your confidence pants pulled up a little tighter, everybody, because you got this. You're awesome. And Rarity, on that moment where you're like, you can, when you go girls, if we need to, as the actor, if I'm watching you, I should see you, as you're listening to them, actually going through that emotion, right? I want you to actually let that emotion build so that you're like, girls, right? So you can really stop them. And then what does it say after that? What does it say? Pinkie Pie and Applejack, what? Pause and stare at Rarity. So what would that sound like? If you're going to stop and stare at someone, everybody, what would that sound like? 1, 2, 3. Huh? Could be one, right? Or what? Yeah, or? Great. So let's us three do that, okay, on the count of three?
And what we do in the studio is when it says two actors' names or more than two, everyone says or everyone has a reaction. We all one person in the room will count to three. 1, 2, 3.
And
So
we record it all at the same time.
So it's all recorded, yeah, and they cut out the 1, 2, 3. But it's something that we've learned over time you need to do that so that it all sticks together.
Does that make sense? So how about you count in for that line, okay? So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then you'll do it at the same time as him. Does that make sense? Okay, when we do the run.
I want to quickly say something I was impressed with, though, that you did. When you did that big line near the end, you pulled away from the mic, and then the volume wasn't too loud for the microphone, it wasn't too loud for them. So that was a great use of mic technique.
Yeah,
there.
good mic technique. That long bit there, though, Rarity, again, you had a great beginning with the deep breath, serenity now, and then you had a little bobble. That's okay. So just shake it off and go back to the beginning of that line so you can have that whole flow. And if you have to do it 5 or 6 times, it doesn't matter because we'll take the take that's the best. Sometimes we'll even put a couple together. But what ends up sometimes happening in the booth is you see actors getting frustrated. They're like, okay, so today I'm gonna, beep, you can hear them swearing at themselves. And then they just keep jumping in without, as Michelle was saying earlier, taking that moment to go, okay, today I'm gonna tell you a story. Got through the line, yes! So you want to, if you do make a mistake, it is okay. And that's actually really good advice for real life too, right? There's my little Celestia tip. If you make a mistake, it's okay.
Own it.
So let's do this. This is take number what?
4.
Michelle can count.
Thank
Okay,
you.
put me aside.
I did school. Wait, mood.
Counting, yeah! Okay, take 4, go.
Rarity, what are julienne carrots and celery?
Oh, to julienne is to slice into thin little strips. They're like strips of carrots and celery that you can eat.
Sticks of carrots and celery? Neat. No, I can build my house out of them.
Great, hold on a sec,
So start from
let's
the
go
top
back.
of that line again.
And
yeah.
that is, see there's that word neat? I want you to discover, think about it. Sticks of carrots and celery? Oh my gosh, it's like Christmas morning. I want that feeling on that line. Go from there.
Sticks of carrots and celery? Neat. No, I can build a house out of them.
Wait, what?
When the cake leaves me to babysit the twins, they'll leave carrots and celery to eat. And they're always playing with it. And they have a great time with it. No, I want to get to do the same with cakes. Okay. No, I want to get to do the same because, as the cakes always says, no, Pinkie Pie, make sure they eat their veggies and not play with them. But if twins have fun, why can't I? Can't wait for Julie to bring me carrots and celery.
Okay, I want a big sigh in front of this. You just, I can't wait. Try that.
I can't wait to Julie to bring me carrots and celery.
One more time, big sigh.
I can't wait to Julie to bring me carrots and celery.
Big sigh in front of the line.
I can't wait Julie to bring me carrots and celery.
Nice job, good job. Okay, and again, you're like totally confused, man. Totally confused.
Rarity, what is this hay al dente? Who's this Al feller and why does he have to dent my hay? It's just thin and weak. All it'll do is bend.
Great. And now, just one more time, and as opposed to being pissed off at Al, like, I think it's more like, man, it's just, like, maybe put a little goofy laugh after it. Yeah, okay.
Rarity, what is this hay al dente? Who's this Al feller and why does he have to dent my hay? It's just thin and weak. All it'll do is bend.
Nice. Good job.
Are you serious? Applejack. That's Applejack, that's the cooking method used for hay. It just cooks it a little under to make it a bit more firm.
Why wouldn't Al cook it all the way? Is he an impatient one? Is the pot dented? I bet that's why it's called that.
So I think that's the moment where it's like, oh, it's like deep thoughts, right? Like, and one thought leads to the next thought, which leads to the other thought, which is like, whoa. Right? Try it like that.
Why wouldn't Al cook it all the way? Is he an impatient one? Is the pot dented? I bet that's why it's called that.
I hope Julie doesn't let Al dent my carrots and celery. It'll ruin structural integrity of the house I'm gonna build.
I don't think they would have anything to do with each other.
What if they run out of... Wait,
Okay, this is an idea. You're getting an idea. Do you guys know what a light bulb moment is? It's like bing! It's like, oh, angels are singing, okay? You ready? Go!
what if they run off together and start their own restaurant? It will be nothing but long, thin, tended, undercooked carrots and celery. But they'll know how to crunch design there if they want.
One, two, three.
Serenity now, serenity now. Since you two seem to be having some issues trying to pick something off the menu, why don't you just tell me what you want and I'll order it for you?
Are you guys feeling a little bit exhausted? Just a little bit? It's kind
Now let's get this day started.
of okay. So last page, right?
I think what you guys should do is now you've got an idea of what we're looking for. We're going to talk with these people while you take 2 minutes to go over your script, write down your pre and your post life, put down any tactics or sounds, smiley faces, anything on your script. Our scripts are folded and written on, and if you're next to Tabitha, she'll sometimes doodle on your page. Draw a little bunny.
Sometimes I may fold mine into a paper airplane.
You know.
It's just bound to happen.
Really nice moments there. Could you guys hear the difference? Yeah, right? And even that, like that you want to take those moments and create something out of it, because if we're feeling it, you guys are going to feel it. And I think that's, the writing is where it all starts, but it's our job to make even the smelliest bit of writing, which you never say out loud. It's always fabulous. Really great.
Sound real.
Yeah.
Feel real.
Yeah. Another round of applause for these guys. They're doing a great job.
They're working hard, and this is under pressure too. There's nothing like doing it under pressure. Normally, we're in a booth, and it's kind of safe. You can make mistakes, and for the most part, you're surrounded by a community of others who are very much like you, who've struggled and sometimes had a bad day, or haven't figured stuff out.
But there's an agreement that when you walk into the studio, it's a safe space. It's a place to explore. It's a place where there will be no judgment. It's a place of support, and it's a place of community.
Kind of like the Brony community.
Kind of like BronyCon.
But that truly is, in order to be vulnerable, you need to have support, right? And you have to be, it takes a lot of guts to stand up here and to do this. Yeah. And it takes a lot of courage to be able to listen and to hear direction from other people that might put you in a place that makes you feel a little uncomfortable. So, but that's what it's about. It's not just about a funny voice. And you can hear when they're getting more deep into the script, you guys understand the story better, yeah?
That's our number one job as voice actors, is to use our imagination to bring everything to life, because most of the animation is done after what we do in the studio. We're at the very first step of the process after the writing.
So we actually have the power to shift and to change the drawing.
We have to bring it literally to life and build everything in our heads, which kind of sound, when you put it like that, makes us sound a little crazy, but we have to be a little crazy.
So how are you doing up here, actors? Feel good? Good enough to try page 3? Yes. I think so. Let's do this.
Do it. We'll have to stop after that.
I got you. I got you. All right, so we're gonna do this once through. This is the ending of the scene, and this is take what?
5.
She can count. Counting is fun.
Well, that sounds very kind and helpful of you, Rarity. I thank you.
It's not a problem, dear. Now just tell me what you'd like.
Apple fritters, apple tarts, caramel apples, apple turnovers, apple crisp, apple
Get apples off your mind for 1 minute and try again.
Twice seems to like burgers. Do they have that here?
That was a really good example of milking the moment. Good job.
Sure, whatever. I'll order something like that for you. What about you, Pinky?
Everything.
Pinky? No. This isn't Ponyville Day's eating contest. Pick one thing.
I will have a cheese having.
Oh, the kale and lavender soup.
Oh, kale? Oh dear, I think I'm allergic to that. But the choice has been made, and I will power through the meal with all my might for you and for Julie.
I'm going to the ladies' room. Don't follow me.
1, 2, 3.
Oh.
Give me a, 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
And then give me a, okay.
Okay.
Okay. It's me. So, Applejack, would Al put a bunch of dents on the wall of the restaurant, or do you think Julie will be mad at him for that?
You have quite the imagination there, Pinky.
And scene. Keep that applause going for Noaking, Alamix, and Shelby. Michelle Krieber, Rebecca Schoikett. I'm Nicole Oliver. Thank you very much for playing with us. See y'all later. Have a great day.
See you soon.
How you all doing? Having a good time so far? This is a packed house. This is fantastic. But you're not here to see me. I know that. So without further ado, I'm going to start bringing up the important people. Are you excited? I'm excited. I've never been so excited. All right. So this is the Creating Equestria panel. If you're here for BronyPalooza, you're about 12 hours too early. Who shall we bring up first? All right, I want to welcome to the stage, first and foremost, the person without whom none of us would be here, Bonnie Zachary. Bonnie Zachary. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. There we go. Also, please welcome to the stage the one and only Jason Thiessen. The marvelous and Mephistophelian M.A. Larson. If he comes at you with a Sharpie pen, run. And of course, the one, the only, the legendary Lauren Faust.
You're embarrassing me.
What a good crowd. This is just amazing. All right. So to kick things off, as I say, this is the Creating Equestria panel, so we're going to be talking about some of the technical notes and
Not more
stuff.
notes, please.
No. We're going to be talking about what goes into making the show and where things all began. And to begin at the very beginning, I want to talk about how My Little Pony, not Gen 4, but the entire franchise kicked off. And to do that, I have to take us back to the early 80s and go from there. So, Bonnie, if I may ask, how did this whole thing start?
It was a little sketch. And it was an idea that I always had. Well, a love of horses and an attempt to make a toy that I would have liked as a child.
Now, I heard, I'm not sure if this is true or not, you wanted a horse when you were little, but you didn't end up with one.
Sadly, I never got my horse. I know.
But if you had, none of this would have been possible, so I guess it's a good thing in the long term?
Probably not. Probably not.
So you were working at Hasbro.
I was.
And it started with a sketch. Where did things go from there? How quickly did things move once you had made this sketch and once people, the higher-ups, sort of said, well, this is a good idea, we should go for this?
Very slowly. First you have an idea, then you draw it, then you make a nice presentation, and people shoot it down. And then you go back and you do another sketch the next year and present it, and people shoot it down. And then you do it again, and they shoot it down again, and then someone else comes up with the same idea, and they do it.
That's pretty much it.
No, they change it. They changed it, really. But, you know, it's like you have to stick to your guns if you know it's a good idea. Keep pushing it, no matter how many times you get shot down.
Perseverance.
Indeed, yes. That's the answer, really. And eventually someone else will think it's also a good idea.
So from that toy line then developed the show. Although it was a film once. I am not an original. How many original Gen fans do we have in the audience? I know we've got a good number of them. You can do better than that. Come on. Original Gen fans. So where did things go from there?
Well, I only did the first 6, and they didn't have great hopes for it. They didn't put a lot of money behind it, so I left. But they did produce it. It did very well. Then someone else designed it again and again and again. And then they decided they would like to make a movie or a TV show, and that's when Lauren came in.
So Lauren, yes, moving down to you. You were a fan of My Little Pony in your youth, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
When did it first come into your life?
I was 6, so like 1981-ish.
So you were there right at the beginning.
Yes.
Were you also another person who wanted a horse but didn't get one?
Yes. I still want a horse.
So fast forward, I guess, 25, 26 years? It was around 2008, 2009 when you first started pitching Gen 4?
Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah.
So how did that go? Did you also run into some of the same roadblocks, the same having to pitch it over and over?
No, my roadblocks were before this one. I was working in animation, and I was constantly pitching cartoons for girls. And I would get a lot of feedback, a lot of good feedback. I mean, what I heard over and over again is like, this is great and we love it, but girls don't watch cartoons. So we don't want to make it. So then I got frustrated and I went, all right, well, nobody's going to tell me that girls don't like dolls. So I created a doll line briefly that was in F.A.O. Schwartz called Milky Way and the Galaxy Girls. Learned that the toy business is kind of worse than the animation business. Got a lot of like, we love your dolls, but we need you to make a cartoon of them. Face palmed. But in the process of trying to get Galaxy Girls going, I got a meeting with Hasbro. I pitched Galaxy Girls to an executive there, and she didn't like Galaxy Girls. But she pulled out a DVD of My Little Pony and said, I haven't watched this yet, but I imagine it's probably pretty bad. And she said, can you watch it and see if you think there's something you could do with it? And so I took it and I watched it, and it was pretty bad. But My Little Pony was my favorite toy as a kid. And so finally that was like what opened the door for me, was to make something for girls, was to make it through toys. And then it actually, as far as the show goes, it went pretty easily from there. It took time. I came up with an initial pitch and they liked it out of the gate. They wanted me to create more materials, and that took about a year of development time before it finally got going. But the response in general was very good from the beginning, so that's when it got easier suddenly. But it did take time.
That's not usually the process, though. Generally, things don't go that smoothly, by the sound of it, in animation.
You know, it depends. It depends on who you're working for, really. You know, if you're lucky enough to get to a studio who loves your idea, they might give you a lot of creative freedom. That actually happened on the show I'm working on now, DC Superhero Girls. Warner and Mitch too, that we get a lot of creative freedom. We don't get a lot of notes. But then you might work at another studio that they like your idea and they buy it, and you pitch it and they go for it, and then they want to change everything. And so it really depends on who you're working for. And I've kind of learned to not work with people who want to change everything. Just kind of stay
Good luck
away.
with that.
Yeah.
So as showrunner, when did the team first start getting assembled? When did Mitch come on board? When did Jason come on board?
When did you come on board, Mitch?
We had dinner in your hood, and
Yeah.
you pitched me the whole show. And then she asked me what I was doing, and I had just written one of my books. And I told her about a pretty bad animation experience I just had. And I said, I hope I don't ever have to work in animation again. I just want to write books. And she's like, do you want to be the head writer on my new show? Yep.
And Jason,
that was
how about
pretty
you?
early on now, I think.
Me? I was working in Vancouver, up in Canada, and I was just called up by DHX, which at the time was called Studio B, and they said, we would be interested in you directing a show. Can you come in and take a look at it? And I said, sure. And so I looked at, they said it's My Little Pony, and I was like, I kind of remember that being kind of bad.
I'm sensing a theme here. And poor Bonnie's sitting here thinking, hey.
Just same kind of thing that what Lauren was saying. But then they said there's a new version developed by Lauren Faust, and I had heard of her from the industry, and I was like, oh, wait a second, that might be actually good. So I looked at the Bible that you had created, and I got really excited about it. I could tell right away that there's a lot of love and care and great writing and great designs, and I definitely was like, sign me up, I want to do this. This is going to be a great show.
Now, the show Bible was that collection, Lauren, that you were working on over the year of sort of sketches and plot ideas, that kind of material?
Yeah. Hasbro gave me a small budget to hire some of my friends, had a few kind of story jam sessions with some people I liked working with, who also created some art for me. My friend Paul Rudish, who runs the Mickey Mouse shorts for Disney right now, is a brilliant artist and storyteller, and he helped me out with some artwork and some ideas. In fact, I remember he came to me with a drawing of Pegasus ponies galloping across clouds and knocking the rain out of the clouds onto the ponies below them, and that just made me go, all right, ponies make the world work. You know, that inspired that idea that they were the stewards of the world and that they had to create the weather and the seasons and make their world function. So I gathered these materials, I did my own sketches and drawings, and spent a very intense 6 weeks creating a 40-page Bible, which is really unusually large. But I had
really
so
good
much
read.
I wanted to say. What's that?
It was a really good read.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
I'm still very proud of it. I feel like
It's
it's one of
great.
the best things I've ever done.
The Bible's amazing.
But it was descriptions of the characters, art of the characters, descriptions of the worlds and the types of stories that we would tell in this world. And even though that 6 weeks was really intense, it was still like several months again before we actually started on anything. But they really didn't ask for any changes. It was still like the basis of what the show turned into.
On the topic of world building, we have a wonderful question here that was submitted online by Jenny. Is Jenny in the audience? Well, they had a question about world building. It sounds like some of the rules of the world were generated by your sketches. Did you come into it with a sort of set of rules in mind that informed sketches? Did it work both ways? Or how did you develop really your rules for Equestria?
I come up with my ideas when I'm drawing. So I'll usually get like a big sketchbook that's dedicated to a project, and I'll just start drawing. And I started with the personalities and characterizations that I had signed to the ponies that I played with when I was a little girl, my 6 favorite ones. Started drawing them, started thinking about who they were based on how I played with them, how they might relate to one another. And as I draw, the ideas just sort of come to me. Then when I start getting into the world building aspect, for me, everything is kind of about theme. So I knew I wanted it to be about magic, because for me, once unicorns and Pegasus were introduced into the pony line, I think that's when it really solidified for me as something that I loved as a kid. So I wanted it to be about magic. Hasbro wanted it to be about friendship.
Maybe somehow related to each other.
Yes.
Yeah, how magic and friendship could be related.
Yeah. So bringing in those themes, wrapping it up in a horse theme as well, in that, so we named the land Equestria because equestrian means horse, and Ponyville was originally called Philadelphia. So kind of taking these themes that I want to stick with and these characters that I feel strongly about, and just kind of using them as puzzle pieces and fitting them together, never straying away from those themes and those characterizations, and then just letting it kind of grow in my head, and then eventually writing it all down.
And I think it's fair to say as well that some of the rules of the world, or the world in general, developed not just from the Bible, but also over the course of writing the show and animating the show. Could Mitch or Jason sort of discuss what you discovered about Equestria as you went about creating it?
Well, I remember having a meeting with you, Lauren, early on when we were talking about like how do ponies like pick things up, and that was like the hardest thing. And the tendency in animation is to just like, well, have them stand on two legs and like just have something stuck to their hooves.
I said no.
Yeah, we're very adamant about that. And then we were like, well, what if we just created some devices, some inventions that can like do things for them like hands? And again, we got no.
No. Horses don't do that.
Yeah, the horses don't do that.
They also don't drive cars. I had to tell Hasbro.
They don't drive. They are cars, in a way.
They are cars.
They're a vehicle and a character all in one. And so we had to really wrap our brains around, how are we going to make all these normal things, especially some of the things that were written in the script, like, things that they were doing, grabbing this and grabbing that. And I'm like, how do they grab things?
Like dogs with their mouths.
Yeah, with their mouths. But then they would be walking, talking, and holding objects. And I'm like, I just don't know what we're going to do.
No, they talk like this because they have something in their mouth.
Yeah, we tried all kinds of stuff. So,
it's adorable. Come on.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
So it was, yeah.
I also didn't like them sitting in chairs. I had a problem with that too.
So it was, but those kinds of limitations, those rules that limited us actually forced creativity. And we had to really think around and out of the box, like, how do we make it feel natural as if this is just the way they live every day? And, also be clever in how they do things. Like, thankfully with Pinkie Pie, she can kind of like balance something on her head and carry it that way, or even do something, weird, like hold it with her hair, because her hair is so springy, she can hook stuff or grab it even prehensile, or just like cheat and just like cut to a mid shot and they just pick it up, like it's already resting in their palm. Or they just like toss it on their back or into a bag. So those are just all the things that we had to, get everybody on the team to start thinking like, because the tendency was to just stick it to the hoof, and I'd be like, no, slap, bad.
I'm just imagining sort of angry meetings. No, the hooves, they have to get, no, mouth. Just these.
They took the whips away from me, unfortunately.
So I want to talk about process. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page as to what the process is from getting to the show Bible to the finished product that we all love. I'm assuming everyone here loves the show, yes? So you start with the Bible. If I'm wrong on this, please do correct me. You start with the Bible, you write some scripts up. I made that sound so simple.
They write themselves, really.
They
right?
write, yeah, it's very straightforward.
You
Mitch
push
doesn't
a
have to do
button
anything.
on the computer and write script.
He just puts a blindfold on and just taps away. I have to give Mitch okay, so you go from there. Once the scripts are locked, the voice actors come in and record the lines, and they have maybe some storyboards, they have some initial sketches, but they don't have finished animation that they're looking at, right?
No, we animate to their voices. So that we want to have a lot of freedom for the actors to, play with the characters and do unexpected things. And a lot of times in the record booth, we'll hear something funny that they did, and it'll change some nature of the shot that we're thinking of for that. Just the way they say something can improve it even more. So then we like to take that and play with it. If we had boarded it ahead of time, we'd be kind of limiting, what the possibilities could be there.
So
Yeah,
it's-
you'll do something like, here's the drawing, and that's the expression. Can you say something that matches the expression? And it doesn't work as well.
No.
And makes the actors mad.
So in some cases, it's usually, about a year between the actors recording the voices and then them actually hearing them on screen when the rest of us do? A year or so?
About a year, maybe 9 months.
Yeah, 9 months to a year.
Yeah. It's like birthing a baby. Kind of.
And just as painful.
But a lot of people feel that pain.
So in that whole process, how do you balance the input from so many different people? Because you've got the writers with their input, you've got the animators with their input, you've got the actors with their input. How do you throw all of those ingredients in and make sure that you haven't got too much of one or
Let's
too
not
little of
forget
another?
Hasbro.
Oh yeah, Hasbro.
They have
yeah.
ideas
Yes.
too.
All the executives at the on the entertainment side, and then the brand people who want to have something to say as well.
Round of applause for the benevolent corporate overlords, please.
They'll throw you weird curveballs like, in this episode, we want you to put in a helicopter, because we have a helicopter toy that we're putting on the market. And we're like, a helicopter? This is a world of equestrian horses. They don't use helicopters.
Figure
I think we made a whirligig in one.
There was a
It was like a
whirligig.
helicopter contraption. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, I'll buy that. That'll
Yeah.
work.
Well, thankfully, that was set up in one of the early episodes. So then later on, they created a helicopter, and they were totally fine with it just being in one shot. And we were like, okay, where are we going to make this work? So we found an episode, and this was like across the season. So there was an episode around that time where Twilight, I think, was learning to fly, and Rainbow Dash was giving her a little lesson. And along the way, she got distracted, and then she almost hit somebody, some pony, flying through. And that's where we sort of stuck a whirligig sort of pedal-powered helicopter thing, and they were happy with that, so. We made it work. But that was the challenge.
Did anybody buy that toy?
I don't, yeah.
It didn't even work.
We got one.
Now, when you have an idea that you really, really believe in, that you want to get into that big stew pot, how do you get other people on board with that idea? Is it, again, just a matter of perseverance? Or I know, Mitch, you had one particular line that you were willing to die on a hill for. Winter is coming?
Yeah.
What was the story with that?
I wrote a very impassioned email to Hasbro about that line because I don't even remember what episode it was. The weather factory was going to explode.
They know.
The weather factory was exploding in a giant, if I remember right, like snowball heading straight for Ponyville. And clearly Twilight had to say, winter's coming. It had to happen.
Did it make it in the show?
It did.
Good.
They wanted to cut it because it'd be dated, and they were right. It is dated. But I was like, when are you going to use this line if not right now?
No, but you know what though? I mean, that's one of those, like, that's my favorite way to use pop culture references, that if somebody doesn't get it, it still makes sense.
Yes.
Like, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So it's not dated.
Yeah, it still works.
Damn it.
Yeah. As long as it's in context, works in the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Then it's fine.
So you mentioned the creative process and Hasbro's input, especially to do with what they can market as a toy. I want to go back to the toy creation process, if we can. Bonnie, what's the interplay work between the toy creators and the people who make the show? I know the show came after your time, the original gen, but maybe you can shed some light on the relationship between the two sides of the franchise?
I doubt it. I don't really know. I think it must have been a real juggling act somehow. When I was at Hasbro, they had an ad agency who did commercials, and I think eventually developed little videos and movies. But beyond that, I think it happened when they started their own network hub. So I don't know. I can't imagine it was easy going back and forth creatively with
What is the
toy
sort-
people and animators and creatives.
What tends to be the deciding factor on whether or not a toy is ready for market and makes it to market? That's the question, isn't it?
That is the question. If we only knew that. In the case of Pony, if you get it to Toy Fair, that's pretty good. But a toy can die at Toy Fair. When Pony was there, the sales force was mostly men at that time. Maybe it still is, it doesn't matter. But they would say, we can't sell this. It doesn't do anything. And it could have died right then and there. You have to have a champion. In the case of Pony, it was the marketing director, Steve Schwartz, who, really went to bat for it. And without him, it would have died.
So it doesn't sound like there's necessarily much trust in the imagination of the person playing with the toy. It has to be doing lots of dazzling lights and sounds and that kind of thing. There isn't trust that just a pony is sufficient to entertain?
Well, no. Well, I mean, they put a lot of money behind advertising, but in the end, it's the audience, it's grassroots, it's people who get it, And there were people at Hasbro who did get it, and there were people who bought it that got it, obviously, and and it's the fans that keep it going, and have kept it going all this time. It's true. Very true.
And I'm looking down the table at one person whose imagination was obviously sparked by these toys. Lauren.
Yes.
I'm just going through my notes here. This is a nice one. How do you deal, I guess, with rejection when you've had this wonderful idea and you've went to bat for it and you think it's fantastic, you really believe in it, and it just doesn't fly, you can't get anyone to champion it?
You put it in your pocket. Somebody else might like it later. And you come up with the next thing. It's, you just don't give up. I was asked about rejection at a panel recently, and I remember saying, if you want to do this sort of thing, you're going to have to accept that you are going to face rejection. We all do. You just have to be brave, face it, and keep moving forward afterwards. You can't let it stop you. That's the most important thing. So with your ideas, they can live later. There might be a better time for it, or a better studio for it, or someone else who's interested in it at another time. My husband, Craig McCracken, created the Powerpuff Girls. And that was his student film. Then he pitched it to Hanna-Barbera and made one short. It got focus tested very badly. He said he was on the other side of the two-way mirror and heard a little 12-year-old boy say, "Whoever made this should be fired." And he put it aside. He actually kind of gave up on it, but went on to do other things, and it didn't become a show until 6 years later.
Wow.
And then it became a phenomenon. So you just wait it out. You just keep trying.
Again, perseverance. That seems to be the theme I'm sensing here. This was a question online from a lot of people along that line. What are some of the sort of examples of the most crazy projects or ideas that didn't make it? Or are you still keeping those secret in your back pocket for a later date? And that's a question for all of you. Or I'll just call on someone.
Who wants to take it?
I don't think I can say that idea publicly.
Let's keep them safe for work.
It's just too crazy.
Nah, go on. We're all friends here, right?
I actually made that up. I don't have anything to say.
Mitch, I know you've had some weird ideas. Come on.
That didn't get in?
You wanted one of the ponies to have a Sharpie, right? Well, no, episode 100, all your crazy ideas went in, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I actually, I pitched an idea. Sorry, did you want?
No, please.
I just had I just remembered of one.
I think I got one.
I was related to Pony, actually. There was at one point there was going to be a DVD special. This was before Equestria Girls, and I remember they were trying to think of something to do for that. And I just wanted to I had this idea for an eclipse to happen where like Celestia and Luna would overlap each other in some sort of a once-in-a-lifetime moment and form a villain as a duo, like a two-headed thing, like something that was some sort of prophesized event. And that Twilight had to fight against her mentor, and it was like a real struggle for her. Nobody liked it. So, there's one.
I have one.
Please.
I still like this idea, actually. I had a Adult Swim concept I pitched. Again, girls don't watch cartoons, but it was called Lollipop's Sucky Life. And it was about a little strawberry shortcake-like girl named Lollipop who grew up in the land of Lollipopolis with her friends, the Candy Kids. But we're catching up with her when she's 18. And she's no longer sweet, but very bitter. She smokes candy cigarettes. And she goes to college, and when she gets to college, all the little cliques in college are like grown-up 80s toys, and they all do horrible things. That like I had like these things called the Bugabears, which used to be cute little bears with bee wings that would fly around the flowers and drink honey, and now they're giant grizzly bears, and they're the frat boys, and they chug honey like beer. And so, like every little group, the Flower Children, were the hippies. Their villain used to be a guy named Weed. Now they love him. So Lollipop she was trying to find her place in the world because she didn't want to be sweet anymore. So she'd go around these groups and sort of experiment with horrible life decisions. But it was all under the guise of these just like super sweet 80s toys that went bad. I still like that idea.
I think they do too. I'd watch that.
I think it's funny. I don't know.
If you need a director for that show, just give me a call.
Let's pitch it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm not joking.
It sounds like you've got a willing audience here, so who knows? An enthusiastic audience, so keep it in your back pocket for a little while.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that can come around again.
So this is a random, non sequitur question, but I kind of like it, and it might be revealing.
Uh-oh.
This is submitted by Logan B. If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
I would be a curly willow.
Any particular reason? Your favorite tree, or?
No, because I like to make flower arrangements, and they look really good and weird.
Yeah.
Sorry. And you, Jason?
Oh, I think I stepped in that. I don't have a tree. I am a tree.
That'd be a helicopter. Yeah, exactly. Brute.
All right, I see. I'm going to be boring. I'm the last one, and I'm boring. I like weeping willows. They're pretty. Everybody
They got
likes
great
them.
hair.
What's that?
They got great hair.
They have awesome hair.
Yeah,
They get to hang out by
Great
ponds.
mane.
That's right.
it's true.
We've got kind of a two-part question here, or I'm going to ask it as a two-part, because it's two sides of the same coin. Pixel Grip would like to know what you feel your biggest accomplishment was during your time working on MLP from its very first inception as a toy line to Gen 4. And Waffles would like to know, I beg your pardon, we'll do that one in a minute. A lot of people would like to know if you could do something differently, so I guess not necessarily a regret, but if you could go back and do something differently, what would you choose to do differently? So biggest accomplishment and biggest thing you would do differently, because I'm not going to say regret.
Starting with me?
Please.
I think the biggest accomplishment was to get Pony to market in the first place. It's very difficult.
We're all glad that she did, right?
And it wasn't just me. I mean, it's a lot of people who were involved. Really, it takes a village. But I think if I were to change something, I always wanted Pony to be posable. I thought that would give it a nice, different element to it. And I don't know that Hasbro knew how to do it, or maybe it was too expensive, but I haven't seen it done in a nice way, one that appealed to me at least.
Thank you. Jason?
My biggest accomplishment?
Biggest accomplishment and biggest thing you would do differently?
Well, when I first read the first script of the pilot, I remember sitting down and just going through this thing. And at the time, I had thought, because we had done this little test way back, and I was thought, this is going to be like a really cute, really nice, funny Saturday morning kind of cartoon. And then when I started reading your script, I kind of realized it's nothing like that. I was getting chills when I was reading it, and I was realizing this isn't a Saturday morning cartoon. This is a movie. This is a feature film, the way he had wrote it. And I just thinking in the back of my mind, I don't know if we can do this justice just as a TV show. I think we need to make this into a movie somehow. And I started thinking of it that way from that day on. And then I always kind of hoped that maybe it would end up becoming a movie down the line. So when I got to direct the feature film of the show, I felt pretty happy that that's where we took it to. So I would say that, making the movie was the biggest accomplishment. The thing I would do differently is everything. If I go back and I watch any episode that I directed, I keep finding all these flaws and things that I would do differently, and I just can't do that. There's always something like, we could have shot that differently. There's always something.
And you pushed the technology to the brink of what Flash could do, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, for the show. I remember when we were doing the test, I remember showing you the storyboard that I did for that I wish I brought that test along, actually. And you were saying, you can't do that in Flash. And it was too complicated. And I was like, just watch me. And I had been working a lot in Flash at that time and was learning and all the little tricks and stuff. And I really wanted to push it to feel as much like classical as possible. I know it's really hard to do, and it's a tall order. I did a lot of cheating. But that was something pretty tricky to do, and a lot of the crew weren't sure we could do it. And they were always looking at shots and things we were asking to do, and they're like, dude, I don't think we can get this done. And so we'd have to do workarounds all the time. At the time, my co-director, Woody, he's like a genius with Flash, and he spent months on the build just of one pony that would be like the build for the whole show. And he had learned so many tricks and little things that it was like really complex build that we then pared down, so it was understandable for most people.
Was it just a generic pony, or was it one of the specific characters?
I think it was Twilight, but
so you're saying Twilight is best pony?
first pony. We actually had, it was kind of a generic, but that was built, it was based on her. So every pony was built off of that. And over time, we were able to get different body styles and stuff, but we wanted like one pony to rule them all kind of thing.
Biggest accomplishment is probably, like, I learned a lot on the show. It was one of my first jobs. I'd only been doing animation for a couple of years when I got on the show. And one of the things I learned was adapting a style. There's only a few scripts to read when I started. I think I did the 10th episode. So there wasn't much to go on, but I read all those and just tried to get into that voice. And then from there, you get a lot of freedom to create the world as you go. That's why I like working on her shows, because you do create the world as the season progresses. It's not, I mean, there's a ton there in the Bible to go from, but then it kind of rolls out from there. But I would say probably Discord, because those meetings were amazingly fun, and the character came out really well.
Discord fans, I'm assuming.
But it was also sort of like quite an accomplishment earning Lauren's trust, because like constantly I'd go in for these meetings and she'd reference Trouble with Tribbles or The Music Man or Q, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. I've never seen that. So yeah, she kept bringing me in for these meetings. I was like, you must have seen The Music Man. Nope. But yeah, so I guess that.
Biggest thing you'd change?
I have seen it many times now.
Yeah, we should probably clarify that you have seen all of those things
since then, yes,
right?
I've seen all of those references.
So you don't need to attack him afterwards. It's all good.
I've seen all of John Delancey on Star Trek. I probably would have like paid more attention in those early days and like saved more stuff. Like the story cards, be cool to have those still. I never imagined to be sitting here talking about it now. Otherwise, I probably would have kept more of that stuff and just kind of paid more attention.
There's a lot of things that I feel like are a big accomplishment. Just getting to make the show. It was my first show, and pitching my ideas and having all the yeses was a big accomplishment. Getting to bring life back into this property that I loved so much and meant so much to me as a kid. Just that. Getting to meet and work with Q was a big one for me. But I think the biggest thing is the reach that it had. Obviously, I never dreamt that something I came up with would have such a big effect on so many people. And that's by far the biggest accomplishment, the thing I'm most proud of. And the only thing that I think I would change is, I never dreamt the show would go on as long as it did, and I didn't even think we would get a season 2. So when we got a season 2, I really pushed Hasbro to go like, is this the last season? Because I have a story to tell, and I need to start telling it so we can have our big series finale. And they were like, oh, I don't know. So when we started breaking the stories for season 2, I decided, well, let's just, we have this world, we have these characters, let's just kind of tread water and just tell fun stories that aren't necessarily going anywhere. Then, eventually I moved on after season 2, and I really do wish that I had committed to the story that I wanted to tell. Even if the series would have lived on beyond my ending. So I think that's the one big thing I'd change is to get to finish the story that I was hoping to tell myself.
I think I speak for a lot of people here when I say that the story that you did get to tell is, as you've said, an incredibly impactful and meaningful one for all of us here. So thank you.
Yes.
And that actually leads into the lovely question by Waffles, which was, MLP throughout the generations has changed many people's lives here at this convention, but what do you feel? Yeah, huge round of applause for that. Why not? Please. Lauren, you touched on what you feel the sort of largest impact that it's had on your life personally, but I wonder if each of you could talk about what the greatest impact it has had on your life has been. That was terribly phrased. I'll try that one again, shall I? What is the biggest impact that the My Little Pony world and your involvement in it has had on your lives?
I mean, just a practical one is I never could have sat in front of a room like this and said a single word before. I used to, in college, if it was like sitting in class going around saying your name, I would have a panic attack and start sweating and turn red and like freak out. And now I can just sit here and chat with you guys. That it's like 100% because of this. But also just, one of the things I loved about the show so much is that it was so committed to its sincerity, and I continue to love that, and it just sucked a lot of cynicism out of me, I think, working on this show. So, thanks for that, you guys.
I actually have kind of a similar answer to yours. Like, I remember early on, I think it was the second convention I'd ever been at as a guest. And I was asked to go out to do a panel, and I had never done a panel before, and I didn't know really what to do. I just expected it to be kind of organized like this, and someone would ask me specific questions. And I got there, and it was a big room full of people, and they said, "Do you have any materials you want to project?" And I'm like, "Materials? What?" And then like, "Okay, well, you have an hour. There's your room." And I walked in, and I'm like, huh? I don't think there was really a chair or a table or anything. And I was like my first time sort of in front of a crowd of people. And it was like literally like my pants had just been pulled down. And I had to wing it, but not knowing at all what I was going to say or anything. And I filled that hour. And that was like one of the most scary moments at the time that I could think of, and I got through it, and it was sort of like, oh, it's actually not that scary after all, So that kind of, public speaking was a big change. And also just like with their cynicism, it felt very similar to me. Like making a show like this really changed me as a person as well, just the way that I think and the way that I see the world. I see it through more of a pony lens now, less cynically overall, and it's very hard not to be cynical, in this business. It just kind of makes you sometimes. And one of the other things that really changed was stability. In animation, there's not a lot of stability because you never know one job to the next. You work 6 months on one thing and 8 months on another. This show allowed for stability in my life. Right when we started the show, I had my first child, and I didn't know how long this would go either, and I was kind of nervous. Like, I got a mortgage, I got kids now, like I got to maintain this. And the show kept going for 8 years straight, and it allowed for a lot of stability in my life, which I really needed, and allowed me to build a life with some, comfort. So that definitely was a big change for me. And then, of course, meeting all of you guys and finding out how much the show really means to you really changed a lot of the way I see the world, too. So not just the show, but like these conventions and you guys, major change, yeah.
Well, this whole phenomenon had really changed my life. It was 25 years after I created My Little Pony that I met any of the fandom. And it was shocking to me, and yet, it kind of makes you think this is a great thing to have an influence, a positive influence, and to know that something you did a long time ago affected so many people. And I'm grateful to all of you for that.
And I think we're all incredibly grateful to you.
Well, and Lauren for creating the show, which really made Pony live this long, really.
So we've got time for a little bit of live Q&A. We're going to have a couple of roving moderators with mics. They should be out amongst you shortly. I want to make sure that we give priority to folks with accessibility passes and also kids, if they have any questions. But meanwhile, I want to ask one final question of all of you, which is, what's next for you all? What have you got going on? What would you like to plug, or just plans you have for the future?
DC Superhero Girls! Woo! Please watch it. Tell all your friends. It's really good.
Well, now we can get to the real reason you're all here, the Penny Royal Academy series of books, available for purchase. I just signed a deal to write a pilot for a television series based on that, so hopefully something will happen there. And DC Superhero Girls.
Thank you.
I'm going to say DC Superhero Girls for these guys. Everything I'm doing, I'm under NDA. I can't really say anything. But I got several things on the go, a few development projects that I'm hoping to get through if I'm not rejected too many times. I wrote a couple of movie ideas and such, and working on a project. Again, all NDA related, so stay tuned.
We'll look forward to it.
I am attempting to write children's books and illustrating them, and I think, Lauren, you should do a book on that wild concept you have.
Always
I think
thought-
it's a winner.
Oh my God,
I
and
like
make
that.
it like a golden book?
Really?
Oh my God, that would be brilliant.
Maybe the two of you can collaborate on it.
She's a better drawer than I am. And
Okay.
writer.
Sorry.
Sell the book, and then the show will come after.
That's usually how it works.
Go with it.
All right, so we've got a queue going here, and we've got some folks making sure that the questions are all appropriate. Let's keep it obviously safe for work, and they can't answer specific questions about future projects. But please go ahead.
Well, it's me. You know I'm going to be good. Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Forward Progress. Hi. Yay, people I know. Come see my panels this weekend. Anyway, and buy Mitch's books.
What's the question?
So, general question, especially for Lauren, but anybody can chime in kind of in general things. For when you're creating a show like, say, DC Superhero Girls, when you're going to create a new series now or get involved in a project, knowing that this is now a part of your life, how much does that impact your thought process of, oh my gosh, I created something that touched so many people. How am I going to take what that did and put it into what I'm doing next?
You know, you have to go in without those sort of expectations because you could get disappointed. I just focus on the content. I just want to make something good. You know, I love that the work that I do is meaningful to people, but I don't go in there going, I'm going to make this meaningful to people. It's the old writer thing, right? What you know. So I go in there with my own thoughts and feelings and experiences, and I surround myself with people with similar thoughts and feelings and experiences, and you just kind of hope that it resonates with people. But you can't, if you have a goal beyond just telling excellent stories, you're shooting too far. You just have to start with excellent stories, and whatever comes afterwards is just the cherries on top.
Awesome. I just wanted to say a big thank you for the work you've done. I actually met my fiance through the fandom here, so if it weren't for the work you guys, I proposed to her 2 weeks ago on stage at TROCON.
Oh, congratulations.
So if it weren't for the work you guys did, we never would have met, so thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for your question. All right.
Lauren, this one's for you. If you retained creative control of the show, do you believe at any point you may have introduced another mainline character, a main 7 or a Starlight Glimmer-esque character?
I had plans for more bad guys. So like those types of characters were something that I wanted to bring into. But you know, I mean, as you're on anything you're making, as you tell the stories and work with your team, you know, new characters just sort of present themselves and are just sort of like appear naturally. And I prefer to let it go in that direction rather than going, I'm going to create new characters now. You just like, what stories do I want to tell? What stories do we like telling together? Hey, it looks like we probably need a new character to help tell that story.
All right, thank you. And you should totally come back to Slash MLP sometime. We would love to have you again.
Hi, guys. I want to hear your best piece of advice. I want to hear your best piece of advice for anyone trying to write or start off their own television series.
Who wants to take that?
The silence is telling.
The best advice I like to give people is when you're pitching your idea, you've got to go in there and you got to talk to these people like it's the most brilliant idea they've ever heard. Like whether you got to figure out a way to work up your nerve to just go in there just so excited and so confident, even if you're not, because the confidence that you emanate rubs off on them, and they somehow are more interested in it as long as you're giving it to them in the most exciting way possible.
Yeah. They're looking for any way that they can to say no. Don't give them any reason to say no. There has to be like all signs point to yes kind of thing. Because if there's a way they can squeeze in a no, they'll find it. But yeah, definitely going in with the confidence, and also you feeling that confidence. Like if you're not sure, it's gonna come through. So you have to really make sure that you know everything about it, and any question could be asked of you, and you have an answer for it that you feel truly confident about, and that will really help you a lot.
I'm going to do a hybrid of their answers. Like, I think it's safe to say a lot of writers and artists don't go into it because they're big extroverts. Like, there's a lot of introverts in this business, but if you're going to pitch, you have to pretend you're an extrovert and gregarious and full of confidence, even if you're not. You also have to be able to network, which also involves those skills that you may or may not have. So you have to just kind of like find them somehow. And then to Jason's point, I heard a really good piece of advice, which is, go in with your 10-page Bible and your 15-minute pitch, but have a 2-hour, 100-page Bible of your own ready in your head.
Yeah.
So you don't overwhelm them with information, but anything they ask you, you've got it.
Yeah, in the beginning you kind of have to keep it short, because there's
Yeah.
sometimes you want to just rattle off the whole idea, and like an hour later their eyes are rolling back and they're snoring. It's like you got to come out with the most basic ideas. And as cheesy as this sounds, they tend to like sound bites. So
Yeah.
like when you say things like, it's like Avengers meets, Snoopy, then they're like, oh, I get it now, like.
That actually works.
It's dumb and we hate it, but it really works for them. It helps put it in a pocket for them and helps them understand it. So like silly, and even like taglines are really good, if you just go like, if there was gonna be a poster on a bus stop, what would the little tagline at the bottom be? Like those help too.
So we're going to need to leave it there, I'm afraid. If you still have questions, and I see that many of you do, you may be able to get a chance to ask them at some of the other panels that our wonderful guests will be at over the course of the weekend. Also, they'll be around for autographs, so maybe you can get your question in then. But can we please get another huge, huge round of applause for our wonderful guests, Lauren Faust, M.A. Larson, Jason Thiessen, and Bonnie Zachary. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Hope to see you at the rest of the con. Hope you enjoy the con. We'll see you at the autograph booth.
Princess Celestia, hereby decree that the unicorn Twilight Sparkle shall take on a new mission for Equestria. She must continue to study the magic of friendship from her new home in Ponyville.
I'll study harder than ever before.
What's up?
How's the BGM monitors for your guitar there? Also, move your guitar physically closer to the microphone. I really need it while you do that.
That better?
Much better.
All right, I'm about an inch and a half away, so I might accidentally hit it. Fair warning.
Yeah, okay. You're about 3 inches away, and we do it from there.
Okay. I think that might be a good happy medium. Is that okay? Okay, cool. And monitor sounds good for me. They might have something else to say, but I think that's a good starting point.
Yes, you just don't get caught by.
I got a tuner right there. You want me to double check?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Well, Britt said she'd check. Yeah,
Okay.
you should have done it, but.
No, I'll
If I
trust her.
just leave. Isn't there an adapter for the. Gotta plug this in. A sound guy's gonna do that. I guess someone to come in.
There is right here.
Okay.
I don't know if that's gonna be. Yeah. I wouldn't mind being part of the circle, but this is just where the mic was set up. Okay.
Oh, but they're talking about Mark. They don't have the DIs at the moment. So they're trying to get. Yeah, so I think there was someone who's just a second time.
Clock is ticking and the time is now.
Can you? Oh,
Oh no, Gabe. Is it up to us to do stand-up comedy again?
I am not standing up. I'm
Can't
sitting
use
down.
the same joke again. What are we gonna do?
Well, okay, so what we do is we stall, but we should engage. Like, there's a lot of people here. Hi,
You know
people.
what we should do? Hi, people.
And they're so participative. Is that a word?
Good
Why did the
question.
chicken cross the road? Is this an existential
He
question?
was running away from Gabe.
Keep telling yourself that.
Okay, this is good. This is good. Oh.
Knock, knock. Salmon. Salmon chanted evening.
Salmon chanted evening. How did he do it? Like this? Evening, 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 evening. Like that? He's just chanting evening.
Surprise! This is not an acoustic
Or-
concert. This is an upstairs. Like,
And you have a salmon-colored top, so that's like, yeah. I mean, close enough.
I'm part of this. Now I'm part of the comedy act
here
too.
we
Because I
go.
got my own
So we're
mic.
gonna put the seventh chair over
Knock,
the
knock.
kind of.
I have a question. Does anybody know how to pronounce Rebecca's last name?
So you'll be on that chair.
Man. And the people who are like, wait, who said it right? Shoyket. Yes.
I know it's been like, I think everyone's like afraid to ask, but I've heard it pronounced all sorts of magical ways.
Well, I could always go by shortcake.
Shortcake.
Sort of
Will you just
small.
Rebecca
I'm wearing platforms,
That's
but
adorable.
generally short.
I hear Kreber a lot, which I get because it technically should be Kreber.
My
but it's
phone
been
corrects it to
Kreber for a
creeper.
long.
This will be your chair.
My phone corrects it to creeper.
Oh, word like
Creeper.
word
Autocorrect.
documents autocorrects it to creepy, creepier, creepiest, crabby, crabbiest.
Someone that works at Apple does not like you.
It's severely
My last name when autocorrected is should.
Should. Rebecca should.
I hate that word.
The phone never gets my name wrong.
You should. Yeah, it's a weird word. You should, but either you don't or you can't. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Rebecca should.
Anybody else have any intelligent questions like you? Oh, you have another one. This sir with the intelligent questions.
Let's just give a couple more inches for so when she has her guitar. Like move the station.
Because he was extinct? Because what?
Oh, the P is silent.
Oh, the P is silent.
The P is silent.
That's so we need 7 right.
Anybody else with the intelligent questions? Yes, you in the orange.
Thank you. Actually, I have like the
Gabe
Mickey
can do
Mouse
a very
impression?
good Mickey Mouse. This is the impressions dude right here. Are you kidding me? Do your Mickey Mouse, Gabriel.
Hiya, pal. Haha.
Oh, Oh, that was so good.
Gosh. Gee.
Oh, that's all I can do.
And then there's no clap.
Oh boy.
There's no clap for the good impressions, only the bad.
Why don't you guys go ahead and get them going on?
She's whispering a secret. The treasure is buried where?
Which is this?
I never would have thought. So they're really close to it.
Does anybody know The Office? Secret secrets, tell no one. Secret secrets, hurt someone.
Secrets are no
Nobody's
fun.
gonna get that. Nobody
Secret
watches
se-
The Office.
It's
you
from
guys
The
watch My
Office.
Little Pony, not The Office. That's why you're here.
It's secrets are no fun.
Secret
Not
secrets,
tell no
one.
one. Hurt someone.
Hurt someone.
Secrets are no fun. Secrets hurt
I've been
someone.
saying that quote wrong for a long time.
Yeah.
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 She like has The Office completely memorized, so when I can best her on
When
a
you
quote,
can- yeah,
I
when you can
milk
tweak
it
something.
like a cow. Isn't that what's like? It's all like nope.
Moo.
Did
See,
you
this
say
is why
moo?
we should never do.
Moo?
Rebecca, help.
Knock, knock.
Meow meow. I'm a cow.
Panther. Panther, no panther, I'm going swimming.
Yeah, the black bag that was attached to it.
I thought you were gonna make a
You have these knock knock. Did you just like look them up on your phone before you came on?
No, that's like my wheelhouse right there.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I
Stupid
didn't
dad
know.
jokes.
That's under your
You have
special
to know
skills list.
PG jokes when you're a parent. It's
still-
like
does he still wanna do it?
you
'Cause I didn't
you
wanna,
are touched
take
with a
his job away,
wand.
but if he wants to
It's
do an
like,
official
and
intro, or we
now
can just
you
go.
will know dumb jokes.
Is he right there?
So that's why dad jokes are dad jokes, because they're trying to be PG for their kids.
Well,
It's
yeah.
like never made sense to me.
Because
It's like,
all of the other jokes that we've learned up until that point were not okay for
not
kids
okay
to
for
hear.
kids.
That's right.
I don't know why I never made that connection before, but that makes a lot of sense.
Now, if you're gay, but now you just have to know a bunch of foreign songs that you've learned phonetically and just hope you don't.
That's a good
Tunic, tunic, tan.
Very
Anybody heard that
nice.
song? Tunic, 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 tunic.
All right, hello, hello.
Very nice. Good phonetics.
Acoustic concert with tunic, tunic, ton. Ooh, what a thing.
That would be amazing.
Thank goodness.
You guys are ready, yeah?
Oh,
Awesome.
boy, are we.
Oh boy.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. You guys excited to hear some music? Sweet. All right, we got an awesome show planned for you. This is a very cool unplugged event. Lots of acoustic stuff happening here, so a little bit different from BronyPalooza, if that's more what you're used to. But please give a big warm welcome to everyone here on stage. Got Monique Krieber. We got Michelle here as well. We got Black Griffin. We got Basic. We got Britt McKillop. We got Rebecca Shoykett. And we got my bro Tarby here as accompaniment as well. All right, guys, I'm going to leave them to it. Let's make some noise!
Noise!
Hey everybody, we're excited to be here with you. So we're going to kind of be casual in our rather large cavernous living room here. And
Coffee house.
Coffee house style, yeah. And you know, you might hear some songs that you'll feel compelled to sing along with, and we're totally cool with that. Maybe even this first one that Rebecca's going to lead us through, you might recognize.
She has to learn the lyrics first.
We're all going to do it together because I think you guys will really, really want. My little pony, my little pony. Ah, my little pony. I used to wonder what friendship could be. My little pony. Until you all shared its magic with me. Big adventure, tons of fun. A beautiful heart, faithful and strong. Sharing kindness is an easy feat. And magic makes it all complete. Yeah, my little pony. Do you know you're all my very best friends? Oh, nice.
Why the same note?
Oh, we're gonna. Ooh, I see.
Pick one is what Monique says to me.